Back with another one. Hey, I know y'all like Mancera, and it's a great house because for a lot of people just getting into niche fragrances, it's a great way to transition from designer fragrances, which typically run somewhere between like 70 to upwards of $200 in most cases. You can move and transition into this house with the same price point virtually if you know how to shop at online discounters. And yet, most would consider them niche. However, I would almost put them into designer category these days just because they're so wildly popular. Everybody and their mom seems to have a Mancera, at least one bottle in their collection. But nonetheless, this is kind of what I would call introductory niche, no matter what fragrance is from the house. But we've got one of the most popular to present to you today. Woo! One of the longest intros ever. Let's go to a shorter intro. All right, welcome to the scent bubble. Where's my little, there we go. I am your host for the evening. Today from the House of Mancera, we have Instant Crush. No, I don't have a full bottle because it's not exactly my tea, but it is a wonderful fragrance and many of you ask about it. When you look up Mancera, a lot of the more popular ones that come to mind is Cedrat Boisé, Cedrat Boisé Intense. Let me look at some of these from the house. Mancera fragrances. I want to read you some of the popular ones in the men's category, at least, or unisex, that I come across quite often. Many people want to know about Amberful, Amora Cafe, Aqua Wood, Cedrat Boisé Intense, Hindu Kush, French Riviera, Fig Fantasy, Instant Crush, Red Tobacco, Jardin Exclusive, the vanilla one, Sicily. Vetiver Sensual, Tonka Cola. These are all so wildly popular, but I don't think many are as popular as Instant Crush. This is the hype beast of Mancera. However, it's a lovely fragrance. I have a lot of wearing experience with it, and why it hasn't come to this channel for a full review, don't ask me. Maybe it's just because I don't have a bottle, but I forgot I had this fragrance, so I took it out on a stroll for a couple of days, and I've got some great feedback for you guys. I've worn it plenty of times before, but I wanted to give myself a refresher. Now, all the long talk out of the way, not really, but at least for the intro, let's do an initial thoughts. Instant, oof. Made my nose wiggle. It did not need 2 sprays. Man, that opening is lush. Initial impressions. Let's get busy. Let's get technical. Let the scientist cook. Instant Crush is really unique because you almost get like it's got very much slightly fizzy, warm, spicy candy vibes. Pardon me for the text mail. Y'all know how we do. 2 kids and a wife and a cat. They all text me. Let me say that again. I get a slight fizzy, warm, spicy candy accord, maybe we can call it. It's extremely playful. It does have a bit of luxuriousness to it. I think without kind of some of the textural 2D elements to it. Actually, let me just say that right now. So I was talking with my boy Kix. Shout out to Kix, man. And he said I need to start mentioning this more because he just thought it was helpful talking in this language. But sometimes fragrances, all the time in my mind, sometimes I categorize fragrances as dimensionality. So I'll say a fragrance might feel 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional. And what do I mean by this? I mean, there isn't just a conversation of linearness or like complexity. there's the spatial component to fragrances. And I'm not going to go all into depth. This is another day for another video, but some fragrances feel very much intimate, close-knit, like a sandwich. Whether they have one note or 10, they feel very much married and close together. You get in the fragrance, there's not a lot of spatial arrangement in it. It's just kind of one vibe. The complexity is all jammed together like a sandwich. You see the sandwich, but if you squint your eyes, you can kind of make out the hamburger meat, the cheese, the lettuce, etc. Then you have stuff that plays with space, and here's some examples of this. Sometimes a fragrance might get textural elements where you get a sense of space, such as water, metallic, airy, green. These fragrances take you to a spatial arrangement, like a forest or a wetness. They start to add textural components, spatial components, layering components, contrasting components. And so when I say a fragrance might be 3D, I'm getting the notes, but then I might be getting a combination of some type of spatial arrangement or an environmental arrangement or a layered arrangement or contrast. And so with this fragrance, everything's jammed in a sandwich. Again, warm, spicy, a good amount of sweet, luxurious, fizzy, and fruity a bit. It's got, like, if Bath and Body Works were to make a niche fragrance, Instant Crush would be it. It almost creeps into the territory of a Bath and Body Works, almost like candied rose, spices, hard candy type of lane, but it's got a lush texture to it that makes it feel expensive. But as far as DNA, it is very much playful and slightly intimate. The performance on this, I'm going to tell you guys right off the bat, is phenomenal. I get 8 to 10 hours and I stop clocking. This stays on the pillow, stays on the hoodie the next day. Great longevity. 3-4 sprays is going to get you to the dance and have you shooking and jiving the whole night. Going to 5 or 6, maybe if you're going to be outdoors much, or it's cold outside or something like that, you're aerating a lot, you might ramp up. But I find that 4 sprays is plenty for me because the sillage is immaculate. The projection seems to be 5-6 feet for me. And you don't have to wear this fragrance close to skin. You can put it on your clothes and it'll just pop as the air's running through your body. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts. Let's go to our window here and see the fragrance. What's great about Mancera, again, is that most of the bottles come in 120 ml. They typically retail under the $200, $150 price point, but on discounters, they typically run $70 to like $120, depending on how new, how popular the fragrance might be. Up top, we have saffron, ginger, orange, and bergamot. I can tell you that the spiciness, the spritzy fizziness is what I assume coming from saffron and ginger. It's tinged citrusy, but it's more sweet than citric, which leads me to believe that the rose and the jasmine are playing a much stronger role in kind of blanketing the top notes to be somewhat powdery, somewhat textural, softer instead of zestier. That amberwood, the patchouli leaf, kind of adds to the earthy, spicy combo. This isn't spicy like Spice Bomb. It's more fizzy than spicy. And in the base, we have Madagascar vanilla, white musk, sandalwood, and oak moss. Think perhaps the musk and oak moss might contribute to the luxurious feel of it. So you got a couple components here. You've got this flavor profile of rose, orange, and bergamot. It's got a textural component of saffron and ginger. It's all glued and married together by florals and vanilla. And then it's based in this musk, sandalwood, and oak moss, which makes it feel a little bit more expensive and have a little extra finesse to the dimensions. So this is like a 2D, 3D kind of fragrance, even though seemingly everything is very intimate and close together. I think out in the air, the initial thoughts is that it's a linear fragrance, but I think when you unpack it intimately and up close, you get the textural component, you get the earthy component, you get the floral component, and those notes, though close together, still stand out, which kind of adds allure and story to anyone who encounters this fragrance. Okay, that being said, let's go back out to main screen, give you the essentials, and call it a day. As I told you, the projection, the sillage, the performance is immaculate. Overall, as a fragrance, I give this about a 9. It's above average, certainly. It's got dimensional space to it, even though it's close. It's interesting. The play on citrus and rose, contrasting with florals based in earthiness, gives it a complexity that pushes me to the 9 category. The only thing that doesn't push it to 10 for me is the playfulness of it and the signature-ness of it. I think it is signature. For most people, it would be or could be a signature fragrance for sure that you pop out. But for me, in what I've put my nose to, the complexity and the uniqueness category is just shy of perfection. But nonetheless, a 9 is a phenomenal score. Definitely blind buy worthy. I think for this fragrance, when you're under 30, it feels more intimate and playful. And the older you get, the more of a one-time pop-out vibe type of creator this fragrance becomes. This is an ageless fragrance to me. It's a fun fragrance. It's a luxurious fragrance. It's worth 120 ml of juice. It checks all of the boxes. I think it could be any season, any reason, but it seems to be a cold weather killer to me and my nose. However, it's such a nice fragrance that you could find excuses to wear this in just about anything but high heat to me. That's subjective, to be honest with you. Price point, again, I think you can, on a good day, you can get this for anywhere between 70 and 100 bucks for 120 ml. Just look at your local discounters. It is a unisex fragrance. I think it can change and transform on a woman versus a man, but nonetheless, the playful luxuriousness will be on both sides. I think it just might have a kind of character shift where maybe you focus into the floral component of it more. The oak, moss, and musk is soft enough for women to totally be able to pull that off. And obviously, women rock with ginger and citrus, and rose. So with that being said, 9 out of 10 fragrance for me, absolutely phenomenal. I think for most young men, this could easily be a 10 out of 10. And I can see why it's wildly popular. It's a luxurious, candied fragrance with some textural components to it. All right, let me know if you guys have this fragrance, if you've wanted to try it, or if you have any additional questions about it. I'd love to answer those for you. And with that being said, this was a great review of Mancera's Instant Crush, and just like the name suggests, it be crushing. So with that being said, this is the Scent Bubble. Y'all have a blessed night, and until next time, peace.